our customers around the globe are investing in the technology, but it can't stop there. You have to invest in the employees to make sure that they have the skills, the technology skills, to apply that technology to the job site. And, by the way, they should also be leaning on their technology providers, because I believe we have an onus, we have a responsibility to make sure our customers, it doesn't stop when they buy the tool, buy the technology. That's just the beginning. It's making sure that we're there helping their teams on the job site embrace the tools and technologies. But I think it's, I think there's the training part, but I also think there's I think firms like Suffolk, right? They're able to attract great talent because they paint a picture of what the future can be. And I think that's so important that, that we're all painting a picture, an exciting picture of what the future can be, because that will motivate kids coming out of school to want to learn construction, to want to embrace the technology. So, I think it can't stop at the technology investment. It has to go well beyond that.
Yeah, we have to set everybody up to be successful. And I think you're absolutely right. The onus isn't simply on the contractor that is doing the hiring.
No.
And it's not only on the technology provider. There's a relationship that's built there. But you have to make sure that when people are coming in, you're finding ways to train them that's equitable and fair and helps them understand the tools, especially if they're coming from a background that isn't traditionally tech savvy. So there's a lot to consider. John, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that topic as well.
It's an interesting topic. It's very, very near and dear to me, Eric. And I say this, with full disclosure and transparency. I'm a severe dyslexic. And I didn't learn to read until I entered ninth grade. I can't spell today past third grade, and you can never read my handwriting. And from a practical point of view, I should have been a laborer. Somebody helped me learn to read, to write, to gain a sense of confidence in myself. I was always a very good athlete. And what I learned through that, and as I entered in the construction space, is that when you think about construction, there's a shortage of training overall in our category. And again, it's siloed. And how do we recognize the fact that every dollar spent in training in construction, you get a tenfold return? The average of training dollars in another category like financial services, it's a 2x return. Because people in our industry, a lot of them do have learning differences, to be candid with you. And by providing that training, all of a sudden, the ROI is substantial. There's no better ROI in training than in our construction category. Furthermore, what we've done is we strategically planned, as Jim pointed out. Coming in, as we start now ramping up to 24, okay, we've come up with this program called T24, Training 24. And what it is to take a holistic review of our entire training program. And how do we focus on what we call upskilling our people? Okay, not providing them with skills. Let's take an assessment of where they are at this particular point in time in their career, agnostic of what their age is, but just understand what their capabilities are and where they're short. Because I believe everybody wants to do the right thing. Sometimes they're just unwilling to ask for the training. And so if we can put together a program of upskilling in our organization across the entire platform, both the functional side and the operational side, and then measure that with a sense of clarity and watch the needle move on our training, you're going to see a corresponding improvement in NOI in the organization. There is no doubt in my mind about that. And ultimately, our goal is, as a company, and again, I say this and I use this word before with humility, we want to be the best, have the best training program in the country as a contractor. And so to me, I think I have a responsibility, being a severe dyslexic with a learning difference, okay, that wants to take a leadership role and explain to people, it's okay to ask that stupid question, because you know what? You're going to get a thoughtful response and you're going to get a pat in the back.
I appreciate your candor here, because the position that you're in I'm thankful for it, because people out there who do have differences need that role model to say, I see myself in this role. And it's harder to qualify that to somebody if they don't see somebody who is like them in doing something that they aspire to do. And so your forthcomingness with that perspective, I think, has a tremendous value for people out there listening, where if you put in the work and you find the right path and organizations are equitable in how they bring people into their team, I think the opportunities are there. But it also, as you alluded to, it steps further. The training conversation that we're having now, I feel like we're getting much better as an industry. And I know we're doing some stuff within ACS these days, which I'm appreciative of, with Just Pollock's team, who I had on the podcast a few months ago. But if we're not thinking through all of those different learning approaches, we're doing our teams a disservice, because not everybody learns in a 2-hour sit-down training session that they never get to go back to and see again. Some people want a 2-minute session just to learn about the one thing that they can't remember how to do today, something they might not do every 6 months, every 10 months, every 12 months. And if we're not giving them the opportunity to hone in there, and we're not setting up our systems to empower that, we're setting ourselves up for failure, unfortunately. And so when we do segment our training to be more equitable and meet all these different opportunities and different ways of perspectives and learning and everything else, I think, one, it allows people to go back and find that information much more easily than they would have, but also it allows people who might not have been successful in the ranks of your organization to, step forward, because they can find the information that they need.